The sole purpose of this video is to provide a basic overview and orientation of your new apparatus. This video is not intended to act as or replace individualized driver-operator training. Individual fire departments may base guidelines, policies, and procedures tailored for best practices. Pierce Manufacturing and Hughes Fire Equipment representatives are not liable for injuries caused from acts resulting from actions inconsistent with the information provided within this video and/or accompanying manuals. Refer to the Operation and Maintenance Manual for complete details relating to the components and features of this apparatus. Only trained personnel should operate this vehicle or perform maintenance. You are responsible for learning how to operate this fire apparatus under all conditions without having to refer to the manual while operating at an emergency incident. This video will discuss types of warnings and caution labels. It is your responsibility to locate and identify each of the labels and understand the importance and associated hazards. Warning labels will point out procedure that must be taken or action that must be avoided to guard against the possibility of serious injury or death. Caution labels will advise you that there is a risk of damage to property if certain precautions are not followed. Continuous training, reviewing of operation and service manuals, developing good standardized practices will assist driver operators with a more complete understanding of the components and operation of this fire apparatus. As the driver operator of this vehicle, you are responsible for understanding the function of each component of the apparatus, maintaining control of the fire apparatus at all times while in operation, make operational and functional changes while operating at an emergency without having to read operator's instructions or safety warning labels, operate manual override and emergency shutdown procedures immediately if a component fails to operate properly. Components location may vary with each Pierce fire apparatus. Review the exact location of each component prior to operation. Major inconsistencies between your vehicle and the information contained in this video should be directed to your sales representative. Safe operation of any vehicle is the responsibility of the driver operator. You must learn the location and function of all controls, switches, gauges, valves, inlets, and discharges. Due to a higher center of gravity, heavy trucks have a significantly higher rollover tendency than other types of vehicles. To reduce the risk of rollover, avoid making sharp turns, excessive speed, and avoid abrupt maneuvers. In the event of a rollover crash, an unbelted person is significantly more likely to become injured or die than a person wearing a seatbelt. In the event of a crash, unbuckled occupants can also become a hazard to other occupants, as they may be thrown around inside the cab. Seatbelts are required while in operation. Please refer to your warranty certificates for details and information enclosed in your manuals. Customer-installed equipment must be mounted to withstand road travel and comply with NFPA 1901. Modifications such as drilling holes or welding to structural frame components of the chassis are not permitted. Contact Pierce for instruction and review of non-structural sheet metal or other dissimilar metals for modification. Follow the radio installation guide for further assistance on installing or mounting electronics. Before placing your new apparatus into service, perform a primary inspection of key components of the apparatus, including all fluid levels, anti-lock braking systems, electronic stability control, and automatic traction control. Weigh your apparatus to ensure that it conforms to axle and brake ratings. Never exceed the gross axle rating printed on the label inside the cab. Exceeding these ratings could lead to reduced component life, personal injury, or death. Review the use of auxiliary braking systems, compression brake, exhaust brake, electronic retarder, and hydraulic retarder. Before placing the apparatus in service, refer to the operational maintenance manuals. Information on the operation and maintenance functions for the components such as the pump, pressure governor, and foam systems, along with other options, is provided in either the Pierce manuals and/or other manufacturer support information delivered with the apparatus. If you need more information, please contact Hughes Fire Equipment. Congratulations, Whatcom Fire District 17, Washington, on your new fire apparatus, job number 33567. Please utilize this 5-digit job number when referencing your apparatus with Hughes Fire Equipment and Pierce Manufacturing. We'll get started on a brief orientation. Starting just under the front bumper, you'll find 2 open-ended tow hooks. Moving to the center forward face of the front bumper, you'll find your PA speaker, electronic siren speaker. On the outer edges, you'll find dual air horns. As we move to the bumper extension, you'll find a tub storage location, dry deck material, and Velcro hold downs. Moving over to the driver's side, you'll find a swivel discharge. Moving to the side of the bumper extension, passenger and driver's side, you'll find side-facing emergency warning lights. Moving to the headlight structure, you'll find low and high beam headlights. The high beam is on the inside, low beam on the outside. Above that, you're going to find an emergency warning light and then also a forward-facing turn indicator. On the outer edge of the body, you'll find a marker turn indicator light. Let's take a look at the side of the apparatus. We'll go over a few items here. First, let's start with the grab handles. There are 2 grab handles on the doors for entry, as you'll find also pull-style door latches with keyed access. Just to the rear of that first grab handle, you'll find an auto eject plug for shore power, and to the rear of that, you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. Moving up to the very top in the very rear section, you'll find a LED indicator light for the level of your water tank. We'll also start down in the lower left-hand corner in the step well. That's where we're going to find our air inlet. It's located just inside that step well. Here's some close-ups of those items we talked about. First, with the auto eject shoreline inlet. This is a 20 amp auto eject plug. Let's move interior now. At all points of entry, at all door panels, you'll find this set of warning labels. You'll also find this yellow placard on the driver's door. We'll go over that next. First, this is your placard manufactured by Pierce. It has the date of manufacture, that 5-digit job number, -01, indicating this is the first in that job number. You'll also find cold tire inflation, gross vehicle weight ratings, VIN number, and then all of your different fluid capacities for each of the components. Let's move inside the cab now down to the lower section. When plugged into shore power, your auto charge system will activate and illuminate. As we move upward, you'll find comfort controls on the seat. This is an air ride seat. And then as we move just inside about the left knee of the operator, we'll go over the next set of items. Here's a close-up of that auto charger. When plugged into shore power, you'll see it activated. Let's start now about the left knee of the operator. First, starting with the silver quarter-turn battery switch. This is your master battery switch. You also have a diagnostic port. And then moving further forward, the round diagnostic port is your J1939 diagnostic port. As we move down, we have some switches and some indicators. First, ABS diagnostics, your DPF regen, and then also any errors will flash in this area, and then also your regen inhibit. Down at the lower section, you'll find information about your Ford diesel engine. As we move up to the dash area, you'll find your ignition and start switch on the far left-hand side. Moving just inside of that, you'll find the EM switch, which stands for Emergency Master. Headlight, parking light, and then to the very far right, you'll find a panel switch. This allows you to brighten or dim the dash lights. Let's take a look at the dash itself, starting on the left-hand side of the dash with the transmission temperature, oil pressure, DEF level, and water temp. Located in the center, you'll find your tachometer and speedometer. On the right, you'll find volts, fuel, front and rear air. Above and below the speedometer, you'll find diagnostic information. Let's move to the right of the column where you'll find your OK to engage your high idle. That's a light and also a switch. And then just beneath that, you'll find your pump shift. There are instructions here to move from road to pump and also from pump to road. Remember, for fire operations or pump operations, you'll need 2 green indicators when exiting the cab. First, pump engaged, and OK to pump. Let's move to the right where you're going to find your main mirror and convex mirror controls. And then we'll move up to the dash where you'll find the pull to apply your system parking brake and push to release. These are your air brakes. To the right, you'll find your transmission pad. And then as we move now back up to the dash area, you'll find on the far right-hand side, push to apply windshield wiper fluid, and then rotate for on and off. You'll also find some switches, engine brake on-off, mirror heat, and load manager. To the right, you're going to find your climate control. Let's look overhead of the driver's position. We'll start with this first set of rocker switches, starting first with the emergency master. Roof light, front warning light, side warning light, lower rear warning, and upper rear warning. When any of these switches have been engaged, you will find the green indicator illuminating in the upper portion of the switch. Let's move just to the right to the next set of switches. You're going to find the front flood, driver's side scene light, passenger side scene light, and rear scene light. Same thing, any of the lights or switches engaged, the green will illuminate. All the way to the very center of the apparatus is where you're going to find your Pierce seatbelt information display. Red indicating someone is in the seat but they are not belted. Green indicating that they are in the seat and belted. Let's move down from this location just below the seatbelt information where you're going to find on a swivel your siren and PA speaker system. That's the module located here. Up in the center, you're going to find this red light indicating that you should not move your apparatus. You may have a door or a compartment in the open position. In between the driver and the officer position, you'll find access for the top of the engine for all of your daily checks. And then as we look to the wheels, Goodyear tires with a steel rim. Moving now to the stepped area, you'll find sufficient LED lighting for your step lights. And then as we move inside the cab, once again, point of entry, so we're going to have those warning labels on the door panel. You'll find the manual door crank and then the release for the door itself. The red grab handle is to gain access for ease of firefighters in and out of the cab. And as we look inside, you can see we have two rear-facing seat and one center-mounted forward-facing seat. Seats happen to have SCBAs mounted within them. As we look now to the section, you have sufficient space in front of that first and second and third seat. There are red seat belts located in the cab. This is for easy and visual identification so that you can identify if someone has their belt on. Let's go ahead and move now to the exterior. And we'll talk a little bit about the crosslays, which are located where the arrow is indicating. From there, you'll find sufficient walkway lights here in between the cab and the pump panel. And then you'll find a tubbed storage location here. This is going to be the driver's side. As we move upward on the panel, we're going to first start with the 2.5-inch discharge. Just beneath that, you'll find a warning label here regarding pressure hazard. Caps may be under pressure and be cautious when removing those caps. You'll also find your large diameter pump intake with a screen on it. Moving just to the right, you're going to find your main pump drain. And then as we move all the way back down to the lower left, you'll find the auxiliary inlet. This is for the driver's side. And next to it, the associated drain, which is color-coded and labeled. You'll also find your manual pump shift on the far right. And then you'll find a warning label here that only trained personnel should operate this piece of equipment, only after they've received proper training. Let's take a look at some close-ups here. Once again, the driver's side number 1 discharge, 2.5-inch, just a close-up for you. Just above that, you'll find the number 2 speed lay. This is your warning label, once again, for pressure hazard. As we look down to the bottom, you're going to find the auxiliary driver's side inlet. That's a female inlet. And then you'll also find the drain associated with it. You do have a Darley pump. You can see the capacity is located in the placard along with the pump model and type. On the far right, you'll find your pump drain. And then as we move upward, this is the number 1 speed lay. And then you'll find the connection point for that number 1 speed lay. Just above that, you're going to find access inside, so you can take a look inside the pump panel. That's for this top access. Let's take a look at the top section here. Quick view of your top mount pump. We'll go over the items here starting on the driver's side. First, starting with the driver's side auxiliary inlet. Right next to it, you're going to find the tank to pump. And then just moving toward the passenger side or to the left in this image, you'll find the tank fill and recirculating line. Let's now just move slightly to the left in the same plane, where we're going to find all of your discharges for the front discharge, number 1, and also your deluge. And then as we look in the upper left-hand corner, this is your fire pump primer. There are instructions here that you should have at least 1,000 RPMs when engaging that for best practices. We also have a warning label here regarding fall hazard, that you should not ride on the side of the apparatus while it's in motion. And as we move to the left, you'll find the number 2 and the number 2 speed lay, and also the number 4. All of your discharges are color-coded and labeled, and on the very far left-hand side, you'll find the passenger side auxiliary inlet, which is a 2.5-inch inlet. Let's take a look at this placard. This is your Pierce placard for 150, 200, and 250 psi. On the left, you're going to find the associated GPM, and on the right, you'll find the associated RPM for those test pressures. The module right next to it in blue, that is your water level in your tank. As we move just to the right, you'll find a turn, not a pull. This is for your engine cooler. And in the gray area, you'll find your master intake gauge. To the right, you'll find your master discharge gauge. And in between the two of those, you'll find the test gauge ports for vacuum and pressure. They are currently plugged and would be utilized for testing purposes. Let's start now with your Pierce pressure throttle governor. In the upper left-hand corner, check engine light would be yellow if illuminated. Directly in the center, you'll find a digital readout for the RPMs. To the right, if illuminated, you'd find a stop engine, which would be red. As we move down to the orange button, this is the menu button, allows you to scroll through the various menu functions. Located directly in the center, you'll find oil pressure, water. You'll also find battery information here. This is engine diagnostic information. To the right in the red, you'll find a silence button, which will allow you to silence the audible alarm. As we move down to the blue section, you're going to find the pressure and RPM. You have two options, pressure or throttle mode. You'll find digital information written in the screen in the center. And then to the far right, you'll find a green indicator indicating that the throttle is ready to be engaged if illuminated. Just beneath that, you'll find a green preset button, which will allow you to preset functions in your pressure throttle governor. Down at the very bottom, you'll find the throttle, right to increase, left to decrease, and push in the center for idle. And you'll find on the very far right the black audible alarm. The outer edge of that bezel will allow you to dampen the sound. It is currently in the full open position. Moving to the right, you're going to find some switches. This is your panel lights. If your pump is properly engaged, you'll find this green indicator illuminating along with the throttle ready illuminating. You also have two switches, driver side scene lights and passenger side scene lights, and then just beneath that you have an option above and below for additional switches if necessary. We're in the dunnage area. As we look to the left-hand side, directly in the center, you're going to find your master stream device, deluge, and also a work light. And as we look to the left, you'll find space here for additional equipment. Let's go ahead and look all the way to the rear of the apparatus, where you'll find located in the center. This is the top mount area for the tank fill. And as we look to the side, you'll find an additional access panel to gain access behind the pump panel. There are 4 steps on the far right-hand side here to gain top access. Those are fold-down steps. As we look underneath the apparatus, just in front of the rear wheel is where you'll find 2 folding wheel chocks. As we move up in front of and rear of, you'll find additional SCBA bottle storage locations in those 2 pan doors. And down just beneath, you'll find the silver ultra low sulfur diesel. Moving to the top, you'll find a side-facing scene light. And then all the way to the rear, you'll find a round emergency warning light. Here's some close-ups of those wheel chocks that we just talked about. And then let's move through the various next set of images, and we'll identify what we're looking at. This is the first roll-up compartment, LED lighting, adjustable shelving within this compartment. As we move to the midsection here, this is a marker turn indicator light midsection of your apparatus. Once again, in front of and also to the rear, you have SCBA bottle storage location. Inside, there are retaining straps for bottle security. Located directly over the rear wheel, you'll find a side-facing emergency warning light. And then as we move to the rear wheel, you'll find steel wheels, Goodyear tires. Let's take a look now at the diesel fill location. It's going to be the silver cap in the smaller compartment just under the SCBA. It's in the current open position. This is ultra low sulfur diesel only.
And then as we move back to the top section, you'll see SCBA bottle storage, once again with those retaining straps. As we look to the center compartment, roll-up door, LED lighting, the ability to add adjustable shelving or additional track-mounted things. As we look underneath, you'll find mud flaps on both passenger and driver side. And as we look to the rear compartment, LED lighting and adjustable shelving. Let's move up to the center where that light is located. You're going to find a side-facing floodlight. And then we'll move all the way around to the very back where you can see that emergency warning light on the very top. Let's move to the rear of the apparatus, identify a few things. First, starting at the top, you've got emergency warning light, stop, turn, and reverse lights. You'll also find two switches on the driver's side. We'll talk a little bit about those in a moment. And then you'll also find on the passenger and driver's side notch, there is an additional fold-down step. Quick look here at the brake, emergency turn, and backup light, and then also hose bed lights and deck lights. Those are the two cupped switches that you'll find on the driver's side. The location for your license plate, if necessary. And as we look underneath the truck in the very center, you'll find a tow attachment point, and then you'll find on the left and right, you're going to find LED strip lights. Those are for your perimeter lights. As you look to the center, you have a roll-up door in the very center, and then once again, this is the left-hand side in this image, which would be the driver's side fold-down step. We do have some additional warning labels here, fall and also fall hazard regarding not riding on the side of the apparatus or while it's in motion, and be cautious when climbing on the apparatus. There are two full-height hose dividers located in your rear hose bed. They are adjustable. As we move to the very bottom section, you'll find that roll-up door inside the lower section where the tailboard is located with an access panel. Back up to the passenger side, you'll find an additional pan door. This handle, when in the open position, you can find two long tool storage for pike bowls. Located in the center, you'll also find a 10-foot folding attic ladder. Let's move around now to the passenger side of the vehicle where you'll find a 24-foot extension ladder and also a 14-foot roof ladder. You'll also find that rear-facing emergency warning light, and then also in the center you'll find a side-facing flood. As we move to the rear compartment here, the dial 911 compartment here, roll-up door inside, you'll find LED lighting once again, and then you're also going to find adjustable shelves. This is a through compartment from passenger to driver's side. Just to the rear of the rear axle, you'll find SCBA bottle storage, once again retaining straps. Same configuration as the opposite side with the emergency light directly over the rear, and then Goodyear tires and steel wheels on this side as well. Let's go ahead and move now just inside the compartment. Once again, SCBA bottle storage. This is in front of the rear wheel, and then overhead you'll find side-facing floodlight. Let's move to the next compartment, but before we do that, I would like to point out there is a label affixed here regarding warning extremely hot diesel exhaust temperatures out of that exhaust, so be cautious where you park your vehicle. In the forward compartment, you'll find LED lighting and also adjustable shelving. As we move to the midsection, you're going to find additional access here in this location to gain inside of the pump area. You'll also find your module, which controls the cab tilt function. We'll go over that in a moment. There are two 2.5-inch discharges located on this side. And then there's also an access door in the lower panel, as we're indicating here. Directly in the center, you'll find your large diameter pump intake. And then down at the very bottom section and at the top section, this is going to be a discharge for your crosslay. At the very bottom section, this is your 2.5-inch female auxiliary inlet. And then across the very bottom, you'll find all your color-coded and labeled drains. Let's go just underneath the sideboard where you'll find LED lighting for your perimeter lighting to illuminate the space under this area. And then we'll go through some of the items that we just talked about in some close-ups, starting first in the lower corner with all your associated and color-coded drains. Just up from this location was that smaller pan door to gain access to your relief valve settings. And then as we move to the right, you'll find your passenger side auxiliary inlet, once again a female inlet. And then just above that, you'll find a warning label regarding pressurized hazard. Be cautious when opening caps, it may be under pressure. You'll also find the number 2 speed lay located on the right-hand side. And then as we move further up, you'll find your cab lift instructions to raise the cab and also to lower. We do have some warning labels here regarding caution and danger. The raise and lower is a protected switch, and the activate switch is on your far right. Inside that open compartment, you can see you can gain access to the top section of your pump through that main access door. As we move to the cab itself, once again, points of entry. So we're going to have those grab handles for gaining access in and out of the cab. You also have door latches, which are keyed. As we move through some of the other components here, just over the front tire is where you'll find that side-facing emergency warning light. And then as we move all the way to the left corner of the cab, you're going to find an indication here regarding red, yellow, blue, and green. That's the level of your water tank. Let's go ahead and move inside the cab now, talk a little bit about some of the options here within the officer's area. As we move in, you'll find those labels affixed to the door panel regarding your warnings. And then you'll also find the fill location for your windshield wiper fill. As we move inside the cab also, on the upper left-hand corner, you'll find two 12-volt access points. They are barrel style. And then just underneath the officer seat, you'll find additional storage. Just about the right knee of the officer or in the front A-pillar, you'll find your fill location once again for your windshield wiper. These are the two 12-volt access points for additional 12-volt power. Overhead, you'll find push-on red or white LED lights. And then we'll also identify you have a set of switches on the officer side, and we'll go over those next. First, starting on the left with the emergency master, the switch will control all emergency lights. You also have front flood, driver's side scene lights, passenger side scene, and rear scene lights. Congratulations, Whatcom Fire District 17 Washington, on your new fire apparatus. If you have any questions in regards to your fire apparatus, please contact your Hughes Fire sales representative. Congratulations.